Recently, I saw a post by a young woman I know on social media complaining about politics, and I became interested in the conversation between her and two friends. Since their mothers are my two best friends, and I've known the three since they were babies, I decided to engage in the conversation. I asked them a simple question: Did you vote? To which all three replied, No. I was then surprised to discover that none of them, despite being in their late 20s and early 30s, had ever even registered to vote. I admit I was a bit annoyed by this, so I asked them why, to which they replied, because there's nothing but a bunch of old people to vote for. Besides, our vote doesn't count anyway. I then hastily replied, well, then you have no right to complain if you don't vote, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best way to address the situation since the young woman unfriended me. Now, wanting to feel a little superior as a mother because all my children registered to vote when they turned 18, I decided to message them and ask whether they had voted in the recent election, only to be really surprised because they all replied, no. When I asked why, I heard a variety of excuses from, I had to work, to, I don't know enough about what was on the ballot, but the most shocking came from my youngest, who's 24, who replied, there was an election? I thought that was last year. Not my proudest mom moment. All I could think is, what is wrong with young people today? The truth is, this lack of political participation is not uncommon amongst young adults. According to a recent AP Nordic study from August of 2025, younger adults are half as likely to follow and engage in politics than older adults. While 2/3 of young adults aged 18 to 29 do feel it's important to vote, they're less likely to vote than adults aged 45 and older. The study concluded that young adults are more apathetic than older adults on many political issues such as government spending and immigration. However, this apathy and lack of political participation is not entirely their fault. Young adults' disengagement from politics stems from a systematic decline in adequate civics education, leaving them without the necessary knowledge to participate effectively. Therefore, increased instructional time in both outside and inside the classroom is needed to increase their participation. According to Robert Kelly, in their article, The State of Civics Education and the General Populace, published on the American Bar Association's website, the passage of the No Child Left Behind Act in 2001 that placed greater emphasis on basic math and reading skills for standardized tests also resulted in a corresponding decrease in education instruction for history and civics, with only 10% of classroom time being devoted to these subjects. This resulted in reduced civics knowledge amongst young people, with students showing only a 20 to 25% proficiency. He also states that currently only 6 states require a full year of high school civics education, with 31 states requiring only 1 semester of civics education, and the remaining states requiring either some civics education, but not as a separate class, or have no requirement at all. At a middle school level, only 5 states require dedicated civics courses, 25 require some civics instruction, and 20 mandate none at all. Kelly suggests that all states should be encouraged to adopt dedicated civics instruction requirements at both the high school and middle school level, and students should receive civics instruction in more than just one high school class to increase the likelihood they'll retain the knowledge when they reach voting age. He also suggests that states should adopt civics literacy assessments as part of graduation. In their article, Momentum Grows Stronger for Civics Education, published January 4th, 2022 in Human Rights Magazine, Sean Healy, the Senior Director of Policy and Advocacy for iCivics, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting civics education, which was founded by former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, points out that the federal government dedicates only 5 cents per student for social studies, compared to $54 per student for STEM-related subjects such as reading and math. Haley asserts that the evidence clearly shows that the decade-long decline in both quality and quantity of civics education has significantly disengaged most young adults. Justice O'Connor was a strong advocate for civics education, saying there's no more important work than deepening young people's engagement in our nation. It is my great hope that our nation will commit to educating our youth about civics to help them understand their crucial role as informed and active citizens in our nation. To achieve this, I hope private citizens, counties, states, and federal government will work together to fund nationwide civics education. While it's essential for us to increase the civics instructional time in the classroom, this education needs to take place outside of the classroom as well, in our communities and at home. The Boys and Girls Club of America suggests discussing politics with kids even when they're very young because it encourages critical thinking, it helps them to develop a tolerance for diverse ideas, and gives them the chance to explore their own personal values. This will also help young adults to develop civil discourse skills, enabling them to have productive, respectful conversations with others, especially those with different values, without resorting to violence. Some other tips from the Boys and Girls Club for talking about politics with young people are: ask them what they've heard about a topic and how it makes them feel. Make sure you use age-appropriate wording and explain the issue factually. Stay neutral in your description and avoid using words that imply a right side versus wrong. Share how not everyone believes that values and saying are the same, and give them space to form their own opinions. For younger children, read them age-appropriate books to introduce civics and history. For children and teens, help them find a way to improve their community by researching local community service projects that relate to their values. Have them write a letter to their representative about priorities that matter to today's youth. This allows them to have their voices heard by their elected officials. Take your child to the polls with you. This is the best way to teach kids about voting, is just model the behavior. Many kids get their habits from their parents. Most importantly, ensure they know how to register to vote, as it's important for youth to begin to understand their voting rights and be prepared to register to vote when they turn 18. If your state permits, have your team pre-register. 18 states, including Washington, D.C., allow pre-registration to start at 16. 4 allow pre-registration to vote at 17, and Colorado allows teens to pre-register as early as age 15. Colleges and universities can help by encouraging students to register to vote and assist students attending from out of state to apply for mail-in ballots. Professors can offer extra credit to students who can show they voted for, or even better, encourage them to work the polls. Most people don't realize poll workers get paid. It's an excellent way for young adults to learn about the voting process and make a little extra money. Even though young adults tend to be disengaged from politics, we cannot entirely lay the blame at their feet. When our education system fails to equip them with the necessary tools to engage productively, leaving them feeling frustrated and disillusioned. The solution to this complex issue will require advocates like parents, educators, and politicians to ensure the next generation are informed and active citizens. Or like my mom used to say, it takes a village.